This is very confusing, all this scenario and choreography, I have to say. I'm not quite sure whether I'm at the right place at the right time. But, thank you very much, Mr. Minister. We really appreciate your presence. And it's, again, a mark of real distinction for Wrocław Global Forum that the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Polish Republic is with us. So thank you, sir. And we hope to see you here again. Now, let me invite everybody to the debate with our three ministers from the partnership countries. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Georgia, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Moldova, and the Minister of Defense of the Republic of Macedonia. And please join me for the debate with our three distinguished speakers.
This one is
Now, ladies and gentlemen, please, express together with me our gratitude to our distinguished speakers, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Moldova, Madame Natalia Gherman, a good friend of the Polish Institute of International Affairs, and a very good colleague, very much versed in all the issues of think tank and government relations. It's a pleasure to have you here, Madam. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Georgia, Madame Tamar Beruchashvili. And finally, the Minister of Defense of the Republic of Macedonia, Zoran. So we have here with us representatives of three nations, which are the good allies of the West, which are the three nations that have close relationship with the United States, with Europe, and all three of them are committed to join the EU at some point in the future, to have closer ties with NATO. And at the same time, these are the three nations which are going through difficult times. On the territory of two of them, we have frozen conflicts. And in Macedonia, we have an increasingly unstable situation these days. So your countries, your nations have been very much in our spotlight. I think that the mission of Wrocław Global Forum in that respect is very clear. We would like to to play our role in making sure that this relationship is as smooth and as close as possible. Now, let me start perhaps with Georgia. Georgia, a country that is very much committed to join the EU and NATO. Anybody who's entering Georgia these days is welcomed with a big sign saying, "Welcome to EU associated state." So this is a country which is proud of its status, but at the same time, it is also the country which has been perhaps a little bit disappointed with the outcome of the Eastern Partnership Summit in Riga. And let's also remind ourselves that the Eastern Partnership Initiative was being launched in 2000 in reaction to the Russian-Georgian war in 2008. Then perhaps hopes were quite high in Georgia. Would you agree with that, that what you witnessed in Riga was rather a disappointing result?
Thank you very much, Marek. First of all, thank you very much to all organizers for this wonderful opportunity to be part of today's panel. This is always a pleasure and honor to come back to Wrocław Forum, to this beautiful city which is full of history, culture, politics. And before I will answer your question, I want to remind you that Ukrainian case, the crisis, war in Ukraine, that we talked so much today, and all the previous the presenters, the keynote speakers mentioned Ukraine. It's not isolated and the only case. Everything started in 2008 when Russia invaded Georgia, that resulted in 20% of occupation of Georgian territory, later recognition of independent Abkhazia and South Ossetia. And by, unfortunately, that time, West was not really able to well assess the whole danger of the situation and kind of gave a green light to Russia to go ahead. So what we have today, Russia continues its aggressive move on Georgian territories, recently signing so-called agreement on the alliance's integration. These are real steps towards annexation of Georgian territories that sent very alarming signal, and that happened in parallel with annexation of Crimea, and this is a serious danger of European security in general. So despite all these challenges, despite all this very complicated external environment, the creeping annexation of territories, increased Russian propaganda, Georgia irreversibly follows its European and Euro-Atlantic choice. And this is the choice of Georgian people. This is not just the core foreign policy goal and now domestic agenda after association agreement in place, but this is a civilizational choice, choice of values, choice of democratic partnership, and nothing of this choice is against of neighbors, or nothing is regarding new dividing lines or returning back to the Cold War Europe. So this is about expanding area of peace, prosperity, and democracy that we so much desire. Now coming back to the Riga summit. So I mentioned once in my interview that we have no luxury to be disappointed, because what we do now, we're using transformative power of the European integration manifested by the association agreement, DCFTA, with the European Union, to transform our country and use all this modernizing effect. And we see that as a master plan for Europeanization of Georgia. All the reforms that are initiated and already brought Georgia in the position of the leader in the region of democratic transformation, with best records on human rights, anti-corruption activity, free media. This is done not to report to Brussels about the homework, but it's about Georgia itself, reforms done for Georgian development and the modernization and building European state. So, of course, we would be more happy to see Riga Summit Declaration for clear vision and also ambitious statement regarding European future of associated partners. We Georgians even initiated common vision together with our friends of Ukraine and Moldova to approach Riga Summit with a common vision regarding prospects of European membership, referring to Article 49, and we believe that would send a very powerful message that despite of all these challenges, EU has very important magnetism and can make a difference, and we still believe so. But Riga took place in the situation of very complicated geopolitics, and what we had in the declaration, that was compromise of all 34 countries. But we believe it was not on the expense of the compromise of basic international rules, principles, European values that we all very much engaged to work together with the EU and all other partners. So what is important, EU in Riga reiterated its strong commitment to the Eastern Partnership. Also, that was very clearly mentioned that it's all about or about sovereign choice of the countries to deepen the cooperation with the European Union. It demonstrated commitment to the major principles of differentiation, which is very important because what we observe now in the Eastern Partnership, different vectors that has to be taken into consideration. So it also sent very important message to Georgia regarding finalization of the process of visa liberalization, which is very important. It's not just about free movement, but mobility of people equals mobility of values. That also would send very concrete signal to ordinary citizen that the choice of European integration delivers concrete results. And as we know from the experience of Moldova, it has high potential of reconciliation effect for our citizens living in occupied territories of Abkhazia and South Ossetia, making Georgian passport more attractive. So we believe that we have still, the real work is just started. Georgia has high commitment to continue all these reforms. We have very, very busy agenda after Riga, and we hope that EU will be more engaged, more active, more involved, considering the real needs and the opportunities on the ground, and use all these instruments to support these countries, because stakes are very high. By supporting Moldova, Georgia, and Ukraine, there is high opportunity to demonstrate that the European transformation, democratic transformation, works in this part of the world and can provide and all this solidarity and support and well-coordinated approach of transatlantic partnership can be very, very beneficial to implement all these important, ambitious agendas that we all have.
Thank you. Let me just very briefly follow up with a short question about the Georgia's expectation for NATO's summit in Warsaw, 2016. What is it what Georgia would like to get at this summit?
So very briefly, we believe that Georgia deserves to register progress in Warsaw 16. And of course, I will be more than happy to get invitation for NATO membership, but we believe that the membership action plan will be the most natural development and evolution, and Georgia, with all its performance, high level of interoperability, contribution in NATO operations, and already behaving as a solid, reliable ally, definitely deserves the support to move forward and get membership action plan in Warsaw 2016. So we will be working on that, and we support in general the open door policy, and we believe that Warsaw 16 has to demonstrate the open door policy working, credible, and we believe this is extremely important today for NATO itself.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Minister. Let me turn to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Moldova. Moldova, in many respects, has already got what Georgia wanted to get, meaning visa waiver program. But you have this program now, and at the same time, the sentiments with regard to the EU have not really grown. And it's not quite clear whether this policy has really helped the European vocation of Moldova. So that's, I would like to have your insights into that, as well as your view on the same question on the Riga summit, whether you are satisfied or disappointed with what you got there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Director Zaborowski. Many thanks to you, to Poland, and to the Atlantic Council for inviting all of us over here and listening to what we have to say at this absolutely crucial stage of the development of our countries and Eastern neighborhood as a whole. And I also want to greet very much His Excellency President Komorowski of Poland, who is a great friend of my country. Mr. President, it's an honor that you are listening and being with us here today. We just had an excellent bilateral meeting with Polish Foreign Minister, where we were very pragmatic as always. And we discussed the aftermath of the Riga summit at the bilateral meeting with Minister Schetina of Poland. And just very briefly to answer the last part of your question, we consider that the Riga summit was the reasonable compromise for the Republic of Moldova, because our main objective was to have the reflection of the membership perspective of Moldova and other countries with the association agreements and DCFTA in the final declaration and reference to Article 49 of the Treaty of the European Union. Well, that was not possible, and compared to the environment in which the previous Vilnius summit of the Eastern Partnership was held, the situation in our region has dramatically changed, and we also had the important environments within our own countries too. But the text of the Riga Declaration does reflect the European aspirations and the European choice of the Eastern partners with the association agreements. It does reflect the principle of differentiation and respect for sovereign choice of those of us who see the future of our countries within the European Union in the foreseeable future. And what was very important for my country, it has quite a clear vision of what happens next. And next is a very pragmatic business and result-oriented period of implementation of the association agreement and deep and comprehensive free trade area that my country has with the European Union. And from that particular point of view, we do focus on post-Riga period nowadays in Moldova. We see what is available, and we were very pleased that some of the new instruments to help and facilitate the implementation effort were presented in Riga, including the new facility for development of trade, helping countries implement DCFTA, including by means of development of small and medium-sized enterprises, crediting the small and medium businesses in our country, and consolidating our national capacities to trade with the European Union. Also, there was quite an important commitment of the European financial institutions, European Investment Bank and European Bank for the Reconstruction and Development for financing important reform areas pursuant to the association agreement and the DCFTA. And I would very much advocate that we focus now in the next couple of years on this particular area, because if we look into the resources that are put at our disposal now, and I mean 3 countries with association agreements and DCFTA, they are not exactly enough if we look into the depth of the commitment that we voluntarily undertake to transform ourselves and be exactly like the European Union member states, particularly in what concerns economic integration of our countries, because Eastern Partnership is political association but economic integration. And I would say that the magnitude and the depth of the commitment included in our DCFTAs is no less, but actually exactly the same as the Western Balkan countries, for example, that went through the same way a couple of years ago, are now implementing, all of them being candidate countries for accession. So it's the same commitment. This is a free trade area with the European Union, and it is the free flow not only of goods, but capital and services, and that stands for deep and comprehensive free trade area. So we are in exactly the same level of commitment and profoundness of reforms. However, we are not candidate countries for accession yet. That means we are not eligible for structural or cohesion funds of the European Union. So my point is, within the process of review of European neighborhood policy that has been already launched, do think of us in terms of at least piloting some of the new assistance, new financing mechanisms, particularly in such areas as energy and transportation, for example, because these are the areas that are changing realities on the ground. And do think of us in terms of cross-border projects that are connecting countries like Moldova through our European Union neighbor Romania to the European market of energy in terms of gas, electricity, to the European transportation network, and indeed in all other areas where if we invest more in connectivity, in trans-border cooperation projects, the realities will be changed visibly on the ground, just as it happened in Western Balkans. With the same approach the European Union has applied a couple of years ago, and it played miracles. This is the soft power, but also very pragmatic hard power that we are expecting to happen in the Republic of Moldova. And I'm sure if we focus in the next 2 years on that, including while we are reviewing the financial framework as well, and we are hopefully be more creative, like Connecting Europe facility, which don't call it structural funds, but call it an instrument that connect the Republic of Moldova firmly by infrastructural projects to the European Union. So if we focus on that, that by the time of the next summit, the realities on the ground, the changed realities on the ground, will definitely help us negotiate the text of the next summit declaration in a much easier way than it happened to be in Riga, because it will be the reflection of something that already exists and not only ephemerically plans for the future. But we have used already in the Republic of Moldova to see the European integration as probably the best answer to, if not all, then the majority problems that the country is facing, including the reintegration of Moldova. Tamar has mentioned our example in the context of visa liberalization. So it is functioning impeccably between the European Union and Moldova, and we consider it an important joint success of EU and Moldova. More than 500,000 of people from the Republic of Moldova have traveled visa-free to the European Union only in 1 year since it entered into force. And actually more than 75,000 of our citizens from the Transnistrian region applied and received Moldovan biometrical data passports and are also using them to travel visa-free to Europe. And this is how the effect, practical effect of the European integration, which becomes relevant for each citizen, for each family, helps us reunify the country much better than any document, strategy, or theoretical approach to what is good and what is bad. And I'm absolutely certain that once we start to implement DCFTA in the Transnistrian region as well, it will have the very same reunifying effect. And in what concerns all other areas, you asked me, Marcin, about the willingness of Moldovans to see more and to have more. I think this is very natural. Association agreement is there, DCFTA is there, we are using effectively visa-free. Now we want to go further. We want structural changes in the country. We want more effort and also more assistance to continue to reform our justice system, to fight against corruption in the society that is unfortunately a common phenomenon overall. We want to ensure that our banking and financial system is stable and predictable, and we want to participate more actively in the CSDP part of our cooperation with the European Union, continue energy projects, ensure stability, security and consolidated democratic institutions in the country. And we also want to continue to trade more with you, because we have this beautiful instrument of DCFTA. Just one fact for the listeners. From the 1st of September last year, as we put into effect DCFTA, our exports to the European Union increased more than 10%, imports increased more than 4%, and the EU has become our main trade partner, with more than 55% of our overall trade going to the European Union. It's a fantastic result. Particularly, it came very timely when Russia introduced unfairly its trade embargo on almost all categories of trade with the Republic of Moldova. So opening the market of the European Union was a saver for us and a long-term strategy too. So it really works. Association agreement implementation and DCFTA works. I would advertise this as a very important and useful part of Eastern Partnership. Just that we are not, we don't want to stop and stand at this point in time. For us, association agreement is not the final goal, and the more we deliver on the implementation of the commitments reflected in the association agreement, the more we will be definitely knocking at your door with the application for the candidate status and with a willingness to start in a foreseeable future accession negotiations. Very simple tactics and very simple strategy. We are not looking for anything else. We just want to follow the path of the Western Balkans, Baltic states, Central and Eastern Europeans, including our dear Poland. And we are sure that in that particular way we are on the right track, and the necessary amount of support will be also offered to us. Thank you.
Madam Minister, very briefly, I would like to touch upon the question of your relationship with NATO. I understand that Moldova has a policy of no military alliance, and that makes it different from Georgia, which clearly wants to join NATO at some point in the future. I think at the inception of both republics, the choice was probably made on different calculations and with the hope that there will be a different reaction from a friendly neighbor to the east. But just like in Georgia, you also have a frozen conflict on your territory. So did it pay off to have this non-allied status? Did it work out for you?
This is the status reflected in the constitution of the Republic of Moldova, that on one hand stipulates that we are a neutral state, and on the other hand forbids any stationing of foreign troops on the territory of the Republic of Moldova. And from this particular point of view, the illegal stationing of Russian military formations on the territory of my country is a clear violation of the Constitution of the Republic of Moldova. And also, very hypocritically, we are always reminded by the Russian side that permanent neutrality of the Republic of Moldova is an issue which is very important for Russia in the bilateral dialogue with the Republic of Moldova. And of course the Russian Federation is exactly the country and the only country in the world that violates the neutrality of the Republic of Moldova. So there is a huge inconsistency in this message, and also in our relations with NATO, we never see this as an obstacle or as a restriction in absolutely all areas of our cooperation. We are members of the Partnership for Peace program, implementing right now individual partnership action plan with NATO. NATO is a huge assistance for us in reforming our security and defense sector. We are very pleased that we were invited at the previous last summit in Wales to be part of the defense review and new defense capabilities initiative of NATO. NATO is opening a permanent office in the Republic of Moldova very soon. And just to say one last word and bring a very convincing example, Moldova is an active contributor to KFOR. So we are now with NATO together with the second rotation in KFOR, and we are very proud of that. We are participating in absolutely all exercises and training courses, and invite NATO to train our specialists. We have even invited NATO now to draft together with us and with the European Union our new national security strategy, because we think, as the previous speakers said, it is never up to one single state to provide for its own security, particularly nowadays, and particularly in a very challenging and dramatic regional context that we are all operating in. So without consolidating the forces there will be and the efforts, there will be no way out for us. We are very often inviting representatives and ministers from the European Union countries who are EU members but not NATO members, particularly Austria, Sweden, Finland, Malta and others, and with them we are coordinating, of course, the areas where you can be member of EU, not exactly member of NATO, but participate in absolutely all areas that would be open for such a status. And the very last word, for Moldova to change the neutrality status and apply for membership in NATO, it will take the national constitutional referendum, which, of course, in the case it will be done, needs to be very well prepared. And I return now to an important issue of communication that is key to the success of both European Union and Euro-Atlantic, European and Euro-Atlantic integration. We really need more assistance and more support from you. We operate in conditions of informational war, whereby the European Euro-Atlantic integration is unfairly criticized and compromised by forces within and outside of Moldova who do not want Moldova to go this way. And whatever you contemplate, dear friends, in the European Union, in NATO, preparing better communication resources or counter analyzing this unfair propagandistic effort, setting new channels in the Russian language for Russian speakers inside the European Union, or any other means or instruments, do not forget about us. Please make them available for us in East. We really need them. We are lacking those resources, professional journalists, skillful mechanisms to set them anew, and we must put at the disposal of our citizens a true, honest, alternative communication on European, Euro-Atlantic integration. And I'm sure those who are intelligent, they would definitely use a better quality product. We just lack this product right now. So we want to be part of that effort that you are contemplating in the European Union. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister. And let me turn to the Minister of Defense of the Republic of Macedonia. Now, Macedonia is obviously in a very different situation to the two countries we just discussed. You know your end game with regard to the EU. You know you are promised EU membership when at some point in the future, when the EU is satisfied with the progress and when you resolve the issues with some of your neighbors, as well as some internal issues. With regard to NATO, you also know that you are in membership action plan. And the only thing that remains there is internal questions in Macedonia right now, but also the name question. So I would like to hear your views on where do you see, when would you like to see your country in NATO, and what is the realistic timeline there?
At the outset, let me express thanks to President Komorowski and to our Polish ministers and the mayor of Wroclaw for hosting this event, and also I'd like to thank to Atlantic Council and to Polish Institute for International Affairs for organizing this forum. And it's important for us our views to be heard in a friendly country like Poland, but also international audience here, important persons from all around Europe and United States, about desire of our countries to be part of Euro-Atlantic family. In the beginning, let me just give you a view of where the population of Macedonia and political parties are staying, because that's the most important. Since 1999, we are on 6 months base checking about the support of our citizens for NATO and EU integration. And that support is astonishing. Usually we have between 80 and 92% support of population. The last figures they show for European Union is 89, for NATO is 80%. It shows that our citizens are asking us as politicians to bring the country into NATO and European Union. There is consensus also among all political parties about the future of the country, that we should be part of European Union and NATO. So in that kind of environment, the goal of us politicians is to find the ways how quicker to achieve those goals. Road towards NATO and European Union is road of creating a society with shared values of NATO and European Union, where democracy is flourishing, market economy, rule of law, and freedom. Macedonia is taking activities in that regard. Whenever we adopt the legislation in a country, before we go as a government to the parliament, one of the most important things to check is that legislation in accordance with European acquis. More than 74% of the legislation is fully in accordance with the European acquis. And when it comes to Euro-Atlantic integrations, to integration into NATO, Macedonia has been partner of NATO from the beginning, from day one in ISAF mission. Today we are part of result support. Macedonian army, size of Macedonian army is around 8,000 soldiers and officers. 3,800 have been deployed either in Afghanistan or Iraq, and it shows that we act as a NATO member. Although we are candidate country to join NATO. Currently we are conducting the 16th map process, and Macedonia will continue in that path. I would like to speak in general about Macedonia, but also about the region, about Western Balkans. Currently, last 2 years, the geopolitical situation in our part of the world has been changed. The region is on the middle when you look at geographically distance between what's happening in Ukraine, but also what's happening in Syria and Iraq. Those events are influencing the security and stability of the region, and we are facing on daily basis hundreds, if not thousands, of refugees passing through the country. Probably 99.9% of them are real refugees, but it might be that some of those foreign fighters are among those refugees and can disturb the countries from the region. Also, we have foreign fighters from our countries in the region. From Macedonia, there are more than 100. But if we put all the countries in the region together, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Albania, Kosovo, there are more than 1,500. They will come back to the region, and they can be also a threat for the security of the region. We will continue, and when we look about the big picture, the big picture is, for me, until next summit to have, or at next summit, to have Macedonia and Montenegro getting invitation to join NATO. We know that both countries don't need to wait summit. They can be invited on ministerial or NAC meeting, NATO NAC meeting. But that will, in the integration of those two countries, will help stability of the region and have a positive impact to the whole region. Also, we need to have a map process moving for Bosnia and Herzegovina. Predominantly, Bosnians, they would like to see their country as a NATO partner, as NATO member, and the European Union member. And we have to help to that part of society who would like to see Bosnia and Herzegovina moving forward. When we speak about reforms, what we are doing, those reforms we are doing, what I very often say to Macedonian citizens, we are doing first for ourselves, because to have a society where rule of law, where democratic values, where market economy is functional, that's important first for us, but also for those institutions. So we look the transformation, what we are doing, the reforms, what we are doing, as important for our domestic purposes, but also for becoming a member of those important organizations for us. Also, I would like to share also how we are communicating with our people, because as you know, Macedonia has fulfilled all criteria to get the invitation for NATO at the Bucharest summit. But Albania and Croatia were invited to Macedonia because of the name issue hasn't got the invitation. As I mentioned, we have sent, and we are continuing to send our military to ISAF and also other EU missions like Altea. And very often what I say to our citizens, we are not, first, we are as a respectful member of the international community, we are helping the international community to bring peace, freedom and stability in other parts of the world. But at the same time, our soldiers are getting a lot of skills, which are very important, and our army is becoming stronger. So we see that as a two-way avenue. One is working together with the international community, helping the international community, but also on the other way, strengthening of our army. It's important to mention that some of the countries from the region are already into NATO, as you know. Some of them are in the EU too. But it's important that NATO and the European Union integration has brought the countries together. You know that we have experienced difficult times in the 90s of last century, but the vision for Europe and NATO has brought reconciliation and stability in the region.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. And well, all what I can wish for the three nations is to have these projects being carried out in the foreseeable future. It's great that we have with us President Komorowski, who invited NATO to Warsaw 2016, and we are certainly hoping that in next year in Warsaw, Macedonia will get the invitation to join, and Georgia will get a membership action plan. And let's hope that Moldova will rethink its relationship with NATO, or will. And we are certainly hoping that all three nations at some point will find themselves in the European Union. So thank you very much, and please thank our speakers.